Hi everyone, this is the Nordic Venture Show, your guide to the exciting world of Nordic startups and venture capital. In today's episode, we're exploring a startup called Aegir Insights.
All right, so today we're diving into the world of offshore wind energy
Oh, cool.
with a company called Aegir Insights. You had some material on them.
Yeah.
We're going to try to answer the question, can data and intelligence really drive a renewable energy future?
It's a big question, and I think Aegir Insights is really trying to answer that. They're right at the intersection of data science industry know-how and this big push for clean energy.
Yeah, and it seems like from what I've been reading, they're really all about bringing some clarity to a field that's constantly changing.
Absolutely. And the industry is definitely changing rapidly.
For sure.
So having a company like Aegir come in and try to make sense of it all is really valuable.
Yeah, and they're saying that they're not just crunching numbers here.
Right.
It's more about like giving advice based on experience.
Yeah.
Beyond data is what they call it.
Beyond data. I like that.
And they're laser focused on offshore wind.
Exactly. They're not trying to be everything to everyone. They're really specializing in this niche, which is offshore wind. And that's smart because it's a growing market.
For sure. And they're targeting developers, governments, investors, all the big players in offshore wind.
Exactly. And that's a really important point because it shows that they understand the needs of this complex landscape.
Yeah.
You've got the developers who are actually building these wind farms.
Right.
You've got governments who are setting the rules and regulations.
Well, yeah.
And then you've got the investors who are putting up the money to make it all happen.
It's like they're speaking the different languages of all these different groups.
Exactly. They have to be multilingual in a way.
Yeah.
And that's not easy.
That's quite a balancing act.
It is. And to navigate that, they've got what they call their 3 pillars.
Okay.
Software, data and analytics, and intelligence.
3 pillars.
Yeah,
Each one tackles a different aspect of this whole offshore wind puzzle.
exactly. Each one is crucial.
All right, well, let's break down these pillars.
Okay.
What makes each one unique?
So let's start with the software. It's designed to help evaluate investment opportunities
Okay.
quickly and accurately.
Uh-huh.
So imagine you're an investor.
Yeah.
And you're looking at a potential offshore wind farm project.
Right.
You want to know, is this a good investment?
Yeah.
How much money am I going to make?
Right.
What are the risks?
And how long is this going to take?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Aegir's software helps you answer those questions.
So it's like giving these investors a really clear picture of what they're getting into.
Exactly. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of it.
And in the renewable energy world where things move so fast, that's got to be so valuable.
Yeah, time is money.
Time is money.
And the faster you can make those decisions, the better.
So it sounds like this software is giving developers and investors a serious edge in a competitive market.
Absolutely. It's all about having the right information at the right time.
Okay, so that's the software pillar.
That's one.
What about data and analytics? What's that all about?
So that's where their meticulously curated data sets come in. We're talking about information on market forecasts.
All right.
Ongoing projects, potential partnerships.
So it's like a treasure trove of information for anyone who's serious about offshore wind.
It is. And this data empowers clients to make informed decisions.
Right.
About market development, business strategy, mergers, you name it.
Okay, I see the value, but paint me a picture here.
Okay.
What does this actually look like in the real world?
Okay, so let's say you're a developer.
Right.
And you're eyeing a location for a new offshore wind farm.
Okay.
You need data on wind speeds,
Makes sense.
water depths, seabed conditions,
All right.
a whole laundry list of things.
Yeah, you got to know what you're getting yourself into.
Exactly. And Aegir can provide that data.
Wow.
And that helps you decide early on if the project is even viable.
That's huge.
It is.
You're cutting through so much uncertainty right from the start.
Yeah, you don't want to waste time and money on a project that's not going to work.
Exactly.
So having that data up front is crucial.
So that's data and analytics.
That's pillar number 2.
And then we've got this intelligence pillar,
Right.
which sounds like the heart of their operation.
It is in a way because this is where they take all that data
Okay.
and they make sense of it.
Okay.
They analyze it, they interpret it, and they translate it into actionable insights.
So it's not just about having the data, it's about understanding what it means
Exactly.
and what it means for your business.
Precisely.
Okay, so they're adding the so what factor.
The so what factor is key.
Yeah.
Because data without context is just noise.
Right. It's like having a map but not knowing how to read it.
Exactly, or like having all the ingredients for a cake but not the recipe.
Okay, that's a good analogy.
So Aegir provides the recipe.
They're like the expert chefs of offshore wind data.
I like that.
They're taking all these raw ingredients and turning them into something delicious and useful.
Precisely.
Okay, so how do they actually deliver this intelligence to their clients?
Well, they do it in a few ways.
Okay.
One way is through their market reports.
Ah.
They analyze over 70 offshore wind markets globally.
Wow, 70. That's a lot.
They cover a lot of ground.
Okay.
And these reports are in-depth. They identify potential challenges, they look at trends, they really give you a comprehensive overview of each market.
So if I'm a developer looking to expand into a new market, these reports would be incredibly valuable.
Absolutely. They would save you a ton of time and effort.
Because you're not starting from scratch.
Exactly.
Nice.
You're benefiting from Aegir's expertise.
It's like having a team of seasoned advisors in your back pocket.
That's a great way to put it.
And it's all based on real data and analysis.
Not just gut feeling.
Right.
It's data-driven decision-making.
Which is what we like to see.
Absolutely.
So these reports are clearly a big part of their intelligence pillar.
They are, but they also offer consulting services.
Okay.
So if a client needs more tailored advice,
Uh-huh.
or they have a specific problem they're trying to solve,
Right.
Aegir can work with them directly.
So they're not just handing over a report and saying, good luck.
No, they're there to support their clients every step of the way.
That's impressive.
It's all about building long-term relationships.
I'm seeing they also have this white paper out,
Yes,
and it's free.
it is.
Levelized cost of energy for offshore wind investments, methods and applications.
That's a mouthful,
It is.
but it's an important topic.
Okay, why is that?
Because levelized cost of energy, or LCOE,
Yeah.
is a key metric in renewable energy finance.
Okay.
It basically represents the cost of generating electricity over a project's lifetime.
Okay, I'm with you.
So investors use LCOE to compare different energy projects
Makes sense.
and see which ones are the most cost competitive.
Right, because at the end of the day, it's all about the bottom line.
Exactly.
So this white paper digs into the nitty-gritty of LCOE.
It does.
How to calculate it, how to apply it.
All the important stuff.
So by giving away this valuable knowledge for free,
Yeah.
they're really showcasing their expertise.
Exactly. They're demonstrating their deep understanding of this complex field.
It's like a sneak peek into the brains of Aegir.
I like that analogy.
And it's a smart way to build trust with potential clients.
Absolutely, because it shows that they're not just trying to sell you something.
Right.
They're genuinely interested in sharing their knowledge and helping the industry move forward.
And they do something similar with their newsletter, right?
They do.
The Aegir newsletter.
Yep.
It's a curated feed of analysis on key offshore wind markets, technological advancements, all that need-to-know stuff delivered straight to your inbox.
Exactly, and it's free.
It is free.
So if you're interested in staying up to date on the latest developments in the offshore wind industry...
I am actually subscribed to it.
Oh, cool.
It's a fantastic way to stay in the loop.
It is. They always have interesting insights and perspectives.
Yeah, they don't shy away from the complex issues either.
No, they don't.
Like they had that piece about Sweden's push for nuclear
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
and how Aegir was presenting offshore wind as a 21st century alternative,
Right?
especially for baseload energy needs.
Which is a big deal because baseload energy is the minimum amount of electricity that's always needed.
Right, like to keep the lights on 24/7.
Exactly. And traditionally, that's been supplied by sources like coal or nuclear.
Right, the more traditional sources.
But Aegir's is making the case that offshore wind can play a much bigger role in meeting that baseload demand.
So they're positioning offshore wind not just as a green alternative, but as a reliable one.
Exactly. And that's important because reliability is key when it comes to energy.
For sure, people want to know that the lights are going to stay on.
And that their energy is coming from a sustainable source.
Exactly.
So Aegir is really trying to change the conversation around offshore wind.
I like their style.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to challenge the status quo.
They're definitely thought leaders in the industry.
What else have they been writing about?
Let's see, they had a really interesting article about an event they hosted at Wind Energy Hamburg.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
It was a big gathering of industry leaders,
Mhm.
and they were discussing all the latest trends and challenges facing the offshore wind sector.
So Aegir is really positioning themselves as a hub for industry collaboration.
They're bringing people together to share ideas and find solutions.
And that's so important in a rapidly evolving industry like this.
It is, because no one has all the answers.
Exactly.
We need to work together to figure this out.
And Aegir is providing the platform for that collaboration to happen.
Exactly.
What else?
Oh, they also wrote about the first commercial-scale floating wind projects in 2024.
Oh, yeah, those are fascinating.
They are.
Floating wind farms.
The future of offshore wind.
It sounds like something out of a science fiction movie.
I know, it's pretty cool.
So how do those work?
Well, instead of being fixed to the seabed like traditional offshore wind turbines,
Okay.
floating turbines are mounted on platforms that are anchored to the seabed,
Okay.
but these platforms are tethered,
Okay.
allowing them to float on the surface.
So they're not actually attached to the bottom.
No, they're tethered, which means they can move around a bit.
Wow. And why is that a good thing?
Well, for a couple of reasons.
Okay.
First, it allows them to access deeper, windier areas further offshore
Oh, I see.
because they're not limited by the depth of the seabed,
That makes sense.
so they can tap into stronger, more consistent winds.
Which means more energy.
Exactly.
Right.
And second, it reduces the environmental impact
Really? How so?
because they can be located further away from coastlines.
Oh, okay.
They're less visible from shore,
Right.
and they're less likely to interfere with shipping lanes or marine ecosystems.
So it's a more sustainable solution in multiple ways.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
That's incredible.
It is.
I mean, it's amazing to see how innovation is driving this industry forward,
It really is.
constantly pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
And that's what's so exciting about this field.
For sure.
There's so much potential for growth and innovation.
And Aegir Insights is right there on the cutting edge.
They're helping to shape the future of offshore wind.
This is great stuff.
I know, it's fascinating stuff.
I'm learning so much.
Me too. It's always good to dig deep into these topics.
It is.
And Aegir is a great example of a company that's really making a difference in the world.
For sure.
They're helping to create a cleaner, more sustainable future.
And that's something we can all get behind.
Absolutely.
So floating wind farms basically unlock all this extra potential out there in the ocean.
Exactly. They're not limited to those shallow coastal areas anymore.
It's like they found a way to bypass the limitations of traditional offshore wind.
Precisely. And it's not just about accessing stronger winds either.
Oh, really? What else?
It's also about reducing the environmental impact.
Okay, I'm listening.
Think about it. Traditional offshore wind farms, they need to be anchored to the seabed,
Why?
which can be disruptive to marine life and ecosystems.
That makes sense.
But with floating wind farms, you can place them further away from sensitive coastal areas,
Okay.
minimizing the impact on those ecosystems.
So it's like they're treading more lightly on the ocean?
Exactly. And because they're further offshore, they're also less visible from the coast.
Which is huge because people have strong feelings about those things.
Oh, absolutely. Aesthetics matter a lot in this industry.
They do?
People don't want to see these massive turbines right off their beaches.
Right, even if they're for a good cause.
Exactly. So floating wind farms kind of solve that problem by being further out at sea.
So it's more sustainable solution from multiple angles.
Precisely less impact on marine life, less visual impact, and access to stronger winds.
It's like the holy grail of offshore wind.
It's definitely a game changer, and this is just one example of the incredible innovation happening in this industry.
It's really exciting to see how quickly things are moving.
It is, and it just goes to show that we're only scratching the surface of what's possible with renewable energy.
For sure, and Aegir Insights is right there in the thick of it.
Absolutely. They're playing a key role in driving this transition to a cleaner, more sustainable energy future.
It's like they're shining a light on the path forward.
That's a great way to put it because the world needs more companies like Aegir.
Absolutely, companies that are willing to invest in innovation.
And companies that are committed to using data and intelligence to make better decisions.
Because at the end of the day, it's all about making smart choices for our planet.
Exactly. And Aegir is helping to make those choices clearer.
Well said.
It's been great chatting with you about this.
You too. I always learn so much from these deep dives.
Me too. And I hope our listeners are enjoying them as well.
I'm sure they are, because this stuff is fascinating.
It's the future of energy we're talking about here.
Exactly, and it's a future that's looking brighter all the time.
Couldn't agree more.
You know, it's really got me thinking about the bigger picture here.
Yeah, how so?
Well, it's not just about one company or even one technology, right?
Right.
It's about like a fundamental shift in how we think about energy as a whole.
Exactly. We're moving away from this old model of centralized power plants and fossil fuels
Right.
towards a future that's cleaner, more decentralized.
And honestly, more exciting.
Way more exciting.
Right. I mean,
It's a whole new world of possibilities.
exactly. And that's where I think Aegir's focus on intelligence is so important.
Totally. I mean, they're not just collecting data, they're analyzing it, interpreting it,
Right.
and translating it into something actionable.
Yes. It's like they're providing the language for this new energy landscape we're moving into.
Yeah, it's like they're writing the dictionary for renewable energy.
Totally. Because
Yeah.
you can have all the data in the world, but if you don't know what to do with it,
It's useless.
it's useless.
Yeah,
So they're bridging that gap
exactly.
between the raw data and the informed decision-making.
Which is crucial if we want to make this transition to renewable energy actually happen.
Exactly, because it's one thing to say we need more renewable energy,
Right.
but it's another thing entirely to actually make it happen on a large scale.
It's a huge undertaking.
Right. You need everyone on the same page,
Working together.
speaking the same language,
Yeah.
making decisions based on solid information.
And that's what Aegir brings to the table.
Exactly. They're creating that common ground.
And that shared understanding that's so essential.
It's like they're building the foundation for a renewable energy future.
I love that analogy because it's not just about the technology, it's about the knowledge and the collaboration as well.
Exactly. It's about creating an ecosystem where renewable energy can thrive.
And Aegir is definitely playing a key role in building that ecosystem.
Well, this has been incredibly eye-opening.
I agree.
I feel like I've learned so much about Aegir, but also just about the bigger picture of renewable energy
Me too.
and where things are headed.
It's an exciting time to be following this industry.
It really is.
So much potential.
And to our listeners, a huge thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Aegir Insights and the future of energy. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Nordic Venture Show. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more stories of innovation from the Nordics.